Welcome, heathens. It's another Sunday, and I'm your Church of Zealtology pastor, Patrick Chandler. I wanted to talk about men's health. So, a few years back, I was listening to Howard Stern, and Stephen Colbert was on. And Stephen was talking about, I'd never heard this story outside of, and he probably couldn't tell it as far as, outside of the Stern show. And Stephen's mom worked as a veterinary clinic tech, I guess. And she came home. She was just really frustrated with work, and she's like, "I've had enough of work. I'm not doing it anymore." And the family was like, "What's wrong, Mom?" And come to find out, I didn't know this either. When I watch Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, talk about, you got to take him to the vet twice a year or let him get laid, especially males, let the males get laid. It's good for their health. And so if you don't have a female for your male dog, or whatever, male dog, there's gay dogs. We learned from South Park that there's gay dogs, which I think was played by George Clooney. But so her job as the vet tech was to jerk dogs off all day. you know, um, and yeah, that's certainly not glamorous work. And of course, it's a funny story. It's a great anecdote for the Stern show. But I realized um, that the reason why they do it is compassionate. And I thought, isn't it crazy that we don't even have that kind of compassion for boys and men and men's health? And so, of course, as a joke, I was gonna um, work with a comedian local here, Courtney. Courtney's passed away since then, and I just nobody else has really caught on to it or gotten the joke, even local comedians. But I came up with the hashtag Handy's Not Hate. And so we were going to film I guess like a commercial or skit where her and I had used to be dating, of course, not real life, just, for the skit. And we had broken up because I had come up with Handy's Not Hate. And then she to show me up, she came up with Handy's for Peace. And because she was a girl, though, she was more successful at the promotion. And so we were gonna film all this stuff, but of course, I pictured us on, of course, Stephen Colbert's TV show, and talking about this as comedians, as three comedians talking to one another. And I thought, but that's some of the best jokes and best information, and some of the best work that comedians do is when it's that blur between what is fiction and what is real, blurs. And so that's the reason why I came up with Handy's Not Hate. So, and of course I reserved the .com, the .org, and I think I have it pointed to the hand job section on Pornhub. But I wanted it to be as real as possible as far as an organization goes that promotes men's health. And of course, some of the promotion work that we were going to put is me as the promoter. I would describe that I'm a firm supporter of men's health, and I'm willing to get in there and get my hands dirty, and the power of peace is in my fist. And then of course, no straight dudes want any part of that, and that's why Courtney was successful, or in the skit. But uh, in the skit, I would talk about how I believe that um, the men's changing room at Walmart should be used to host, some worker in there that gets $20 a hand job, because men are not using the changing rooms at Walmart, except for gay dudes. Gay dudes, I'm sure, use the changing rooms at Walmart. So of course, this is a fiction, but if you play it straight and you play it really serious and passionate, it's sort of you kind of question whether or not I'm serious about this. And so and of course you can't say that with a straight face, and you can't say that kind of stuff without getting a laugh, and that's the point. But the whole idea of the fake movement is, of course, to bring awareness to men's health. I in my formative years, I was completely ignored by my parents, and they like to say that we were raised free range. So, which really the only requirement that because I got in a fight with my dad and I had to move in with my mom, and the only requirement, but of course it was unspoken, the only requirement that my mother had was don't embarrass her. Right? It had nothing to do with love. It had nothing to do with her caring about me or about what I wanted. It just said, don't embarrass me. So, but we were left alone a lot. And so that risk ran very high. And men are expected. There's so many expectations on men that it's crazy. And I was telling Sherry, my wife, last night about a story in high school where, I think I was a junior, and I was in I think it was chemistry class, and the guy teaching it was Coach Jansen, the Westwood Mesa, Arizona Westwood baseball team, and he was a jock and he was a dick, and of course I didn't get along with those types, and I had grown my hair out of rebellion because my dad had gone to jail, and he would never let me grow my hair out. And at the time, it was in fashion for skateboarders to have their hair long or whatever. So, but I had gotten to class, and I was not having a good hair day, and so I just grabbed a hat and put it on. Didn't think anything of it. Got to chemistry class, and Coach Jansen's like, "Mr. Chandler, you need to remove your cover." And I'm like looking around, like, "What the fuck are you talking about, cover?" I'm 16 at this point. And I'm in public school, so I don't learn a lot. And he was like, you need to remove your hat. And there was some girl that day that was wearing like a sun hat, and I go, no, because it was embarrassing. I didn't want to, I had bedhead. I didn't need that shit today. Again, my life at home was miserable. I was a sort of a lone wolf type of skateboarder guy. Like, I didn't even get along with the other skateboarders because they were all cliquey and judgy and bullshit like that. And that's one of the reasons why I liked skateboarding was it was freedom and it was expression, and I didn't have to compete. I didn't like any of that stuff. And so I was not putting up with Coach Jansen's bullshit that day, and so I said no. And he's like, it's protocol. I didn't even know what the fuck protocol meant, and I was like, protocol, like, oh, is that in the manual that they gave us for high school? There's no manual for high school, you fuck. So of course, this is all internal dialogue, and again, I didn't want to expose my bedhead and be embarrassed about my hair. And he's like, you need to go to the principal's office. And I was like, fine, I don't want to be here anyway. And so I just took off. And on the way there, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to go to the principal's office. Fuck this shit. So, and there was a guy that was local, because they wouldn't let us bring our skateboards on campus, even if we carried them. And we couldn't leave them at the office or anything like that. So there was no secure way for me to get back and forth to school and have my skateboard. So My skateboard was just off campus at a friend's house. And so I just went there and then I went home. And I was like, I'm calling it a day. Fuck this guy. So then, of course, my punishment was like, when my mom found out, we had like a sit down. No, it didn't even make it that far. It was just on the phone. And the principal's explaining to her the liability that I caused by leaving campus and all this kind of bullshit. And, my punishment was whatever. I would think I was picking up gum and garbage for like 3 days or something like that after school. But they wouldn't even answer my question about, what protocol, where does it say in the manual, in the student handbook or whatever the fuck you want to call it. None of that shit. And it just really did not feel right. And I've never liked that sort of authority. I'll get into that later. I finally figured out a lot of that stuff and why the system is rigged the way it is. But of course, I realize now that Coach Jansen was going by traditions that were carried over from Victorian era about men in the military removing their cover as they come indoors, and of course this is just a military tradition, and was transferred to civilian life, and it's an etiquette and a courtesy out of respect for blah blah blah, whatever. But we're in Arizona, in suburban Mesa, and it's not metropolitan. It's not fancy pants. It's not any of that. And so I didn't see any just cause for that, and I just didn't like it, and I didn't like Coach Jansen. So he also tried to recruit me for the fucking baseball team. I was telling him to fuck off. I don't think he liked that very much. But it was outside of school hours, so he couldn't do anything. So, but I was thinking about how, I was not talked about. Nobody told me about sex. Even the sex ed thing was real vague. And really, I think kids should sit down with a counselor or some sort of expert or adult that they can trust, and talk about things in real life, in real time, and really understand that. And that the problem is that you have to find parents that either have the time to find somebody that they trust, that they can, and that's the thing too, is my mom had really, really high expectations about sex. So she was like, only when you really love somebody, should you make love with them. And she also said that every time people have an orgasm, a spirit baby is born. So I'm like, I made a lot of spirit babies, mama. So they all just ended up in the trash can or the toilet. So sometimes the shower, yeah. Mixed with a little conditioner. You don't want to mix with shampoo. That'll get in your pee hole, so that's no good. But yeah, my mom was also, we didn't know, borderline personality disorder and just goofy in general. But she was a cheerleader, and my dad was a jock growing up. And then I realized later of why I don't like those people at school. So also they're very superficial, petty, immature, and disrespectful, to put it lightly. And you can watch any teen drama, and they actually go light on a lot of those kids when at my school it was not like that. So in fact, one of the only things that saved me was I was letting the Circle K lady molest me at night, and then I was shoplifting from her, and then I would take the bounty, the booty of tobacco products, candy bars, and sell it at school. So cigarettes, things like that. I made friends with all the dirt heads. That's what we called rockers. People that rocked out wore the jean jackets with the Metallica patches on it and shit like that. And so I sold them cigarettes for $1 a pack, and then I'd sold chew to the jocks for $1 a can, and then I sold candy bars to the Mormons for $1 a bar. So they're like, it's only 50 cents at Circle K. Well, this is delivered. You need to give me some more money. So, but that was my little business in sophomore year. And again, nobody talked to me about anything. I think the only sex talk my mom had with me was she left a pamphlet with me. I was like, oh, great, thank you. So otherwise, I had to find out from lots of girlfriends. Plenty of skanks in Mesa. It was great. I was telling, I think I let it slipped out that I had a girlfriend that let me bareback it in her, and and she's all like, "I'm on the pill, it's okay." I'm like, "Okay, there you go." And I think I let it out that I did this, and then my mom all of a sudden freaks out, and she's like, "That's how they get their claws in you." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What claws?" And so, of course, again, I had no idea what she was talking about, and men's health in general. And back to my story about the hat is that men are treated much differently than women, when really everyone should just be treated like a person. And you get that now with the LGBT QW, W's for weirdo, because some people are just weird. But movement is, and what that has brought to the forefront is that, just be respectful for humans in general, that all humans are important and deserve respect. As long as you're not a dick. That was one of the things that came up. Sherry and I have been talking about our experiences with trans folks in our lives. And it's funny, the trans folks in our lives that we've met have just been assholes. And then they go through job after job and say they keep getting fired because they're trans. And I'm like, maybe it has to do with you playing video games at work and you're 50, like, better. And you're just kind of an asshole. And you're kind of moody because you're on hormone treatments. So you're going through another puberty. Maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, and that's a whole other video about trans people, but people in transitioning. But back to men's health, which was that I was 14, and in my mind I seduced my dad's girlfriend while everybody was at the lake, and I had a broken leg, and I had just graduated 8th grade, and she was 31, I was 14. It was fantastic. I mean, it was like throwing a pickle down a hallway, but I didn't know. And but she said I was better than my dad, and that was a big confidence booster. And just the fact that I scored, my dad was kind of proud of me. So I think I told you this story before. Then later, when my brother outed me, because my brother wanted in on it, and I was 14, so he was 11. And so there was a time where I told him about it, and then he wanted to get in on it, and I sent him on a fool's errand that I thought would take longer, and he got that errand done so quickly so he could be back. And because I told him, I said, if you get back and she's still here, then we'll do it. And what our thing was one of the things that Angelina was prone to. I don't know how to put this. Susceptible to tickling. And so our plan was to tickle her and then handcuff her to the bed, and then basically have our way with her. Not in a rape situation, believe me. We were just two idiot kids, and she was into that shit. So it was more like we were following her lead. But what got her was then when Tyson came in, and she was like, Tyson's too young. She never said the words, but and of course this is all broken English because she was not here by legal means, and that was a little too much for her, and so she freaked out a little bit. But we uncuffed her and we let her go, and it wasn't even like real cuffs, like it was like the ones you get at the fair, or in our case Gilbert Days. But yeah, again, nobody was there to instruct us. I had been granted access to this beautiful woman, and I loved my brother, so I wanted my brother to, and he wanted to, even at 11, he wanted to enjoy the tickle fight, as they say. But and of course, I look back on it now, and it's completely inappropriate. And but yeah, this was 88, 87, something like that. And we were not supervised. We were left alone. I'll get back on subject, which is men's health. So many things in our society are driven by the sex drive, especially of men, right? So I think I've said this a couple times. I know I've said it in my stand-up, which was that testosterone is a motherfucker. Testosterone makes you do all kinds of crazy shit. Climbing windows, climbing over barbed wire, all for, some vajayjay. Doing popping wheelies, jumping ramps, doing all kinds of shit to impress women. And that's what males do. And if you listen to any of the research and talk that Jordan Peterson talks about, it's all in there. It's all hard evidence of this behavior of trying to stand out so that you can claim a mate, so you can mate. And one of the side effects of producing millions of sperm every day, at least that's how it feels in my balls, is that you're horny. And when you're a teenager, you get what's called NRBs, which are no reason boners. Sometimes it's just being on the bus and the exhaust hits just right. Sometimes it's a whiff of BO from a girl is enough, even just a look. And sometimes there's just no reason at all, and you don't want to stand up. And again, society has not prepared or adjusted to address men's health needs, sexual needs. Now, in Japan, many marriages there are sexless, meaning the couple married does not have sex anymore. So just like here, just like all over the world. And but there in Japan, men go to bathhouses, massage parlors, to receive prostate relief. So usually in the form of sex or some sort of whatever. And they go back home happy to their wives and their families, and they live a normal life. This is very taboo here. In fact, sex work is shameful here in the eyes of the law, and also illegal. Even though it's weird to have the government tell you who you can love and who you can't love, and what you can charge and whatnot. So to me, that's just a weird thing to have in a free society. But and in many other, I would say jurisdictions, not countries, because we're all owned by the Illuminati. And like in Australia, I think Jim Jeffries talks about how they legalized prostitution there, and guess what? Like the murder rate went down, divorce rate went down, all because of guys being able to get the health care that is required to be a man. And again, it goes back to handy's not hate. And some of the jokes that I had written were like the only thing that should be shot in a church or a school are the creamy ropes of youth. And you wouldn't be late for class if you knew that you had a hand job waiting for you, even by that ugly school nurse. My school nurse was ugly. She was just gross. You didn't want to go to her for anything, but if she promised me a hand job in 8th grade, I would be there. It was just one of those things. And so, and of course, again, I make jest of all of this. These are jokes. These are, but it's also a nod that there is indeed a need, and I believe an adjustment to what men need. There's so much emphasis put on women in our society, and for many reasons that are straight up biological, and I understand. A lot of it has to do with scarcity. The odd thing is that women are the majority in our society, and so it's not really fair for them to claim to be minorities or victims when they can basically do whatever the fuck they want, because we live in a representative democracy, and they can have all the representatives if they want, if they really wanted to, if they really wanted to step up. But like the joke I used to tell was that women have had the vote since the 20s. Look what they've done with it. And then you go, black people have had the vote since the 60s. We've had a black president. So it's like, I guess women are just lazy. So, and of course, that would get groans and things like that. And but again, it's meant to point out that the way that women seem to be rewarded is by being victims, and by being demure, and by being to require assistance. And that's really kind of just silly. So, and we saw, of course, when World War II happened, I don't want to say planned, but it was pretty planned. When World War II was going on, we needed women in the workforce, and women stepped up, and they were very fucking useful, and they they're perfectly capable human beings. And I really think that there should be less emphasis on, I don't want to say gender, but just treat everyone equal, like people are equal. That and if they want to wear a skirt to work, wear a fucking skirt to work. One of the reasons why people, this was all from some of this is from Peter McWilliams' book, Ain't Nobody's Business If You Do, or If I Do. And one of the things he talks about is nudity in our society. One of the reasons why people don't go to the ATM naked is not because it's illegal. It's because it's embarrassing and it's shameful in our society. So there's a lot of things that already have enough shame that you don't really need to lay down laws or to get the government involved with. So, but and also, if someone is naked at the ATM line, is that really a big deal? No, it's not. You might want to keep your distance, and maybe carry around an ass napkin with you or something like that. But again, is it the end of the world? No. But people freak out about the dumbest things. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is just people are so stupid, and there's so many stupid people that it's like endless waves. Like Sherry and I were talking about the last good time that America had in the real estate market was in 06, 07, that right before the crash. And where people spending money on assets and improving their lives and improving the lives of others. No, they were blowing it on drugs and fucking ATC vehicles and jet skis and all kinds of bullshit. And that whole industry was rocking. People are just stupid, and they do stupid things. But if you made it here, if you made it to this channel, if you're listening to this sermon, you're not stupid. Right? I make it, I don't want to say I make it difficult, but I certainly don't make it easy to put myself out there. And then that's the other thing too, is that some of the things I talk about on this channel are not meant for, broad consumption. And I fully take responsibility and expect some people to be shocked and offended. And that's fine, because this conversation needs to happen. Men's health needs to be, the subject needs to be broached, and have a more open attitude about. And that goes back to the differences that I was talking about in my chemistry class, when I was asked to remove my cover, yet the girl was not. So I think that was all I wanted to talk about as far as men's health. Just that, guys getting boners and wanting to jack off all the time, or rub up on girls, that is all natural. That has been going on for millennia. And so when people act like it's some sort of shocking revelation, stop it. You're being a dipshit. So, and I hope that you're just being overly protective. But it's probably because you're stupid and you don't know any history or anything like that, or even listen to your biological selves. And women have been, I don't want to say rewarded, but it's sort of like encouraged to ignore men's health. You know, oh, my man's big and strong, he doesn't need my help. We do. We just don't ever get the opportunity to talk about it, mostly because nobody ever asks many times our opinion or take our guidance, right? That's one of the issues that Sherry and I have in our marriage, is that, you know, I have a lot of thoughts, and my testosterone gives me really great ideas, and I'm really interested in absorbing information. And so when I have a decision, when I have a, you know, there's a difficult situation and I make a decision, it's based on my experience and also a lot of the thoughts that I've had. And it's very, very frustrating when I make the decision and Sherry doesn't like it. And I'm like, well, I don't like this either, but I've already accepted it. See, I've already moved on to the acceptance part. And she still thinks that if she just objects, that somehow magically a better idea will come. And that's not true. That's not how that works. So even to this day, Sherry, you know, we've been married 27, 28 years. We've been married or together for about 28 years. You know, and I remember having fights with her when I was in the military, and I'd say, look, if you don't have a better idea, then you need to go with my idea. She don't like that one. But you know, and she had no idea the kind of pressure I was under to perform in the military. And you know, when my superiors told me to do something, I fucking did it. You know, that was just the way it was. It didn't matter whether I liked it or not. And of course, you don't have that kind of authority in a relationship, but in many ways you do. And typically it's the woman that bosses the guy around. And many guys submit to that. One of the things that I sort of discovered and was kind of remembering was about when I was growing up in the Mormon church, when men would get together, they kind of talk a little shit about their wives, you know, about, you know, the old ball and chain and things like that. And it wasn't meant in disparaging terms. It had more to do with, you know, carrying a burden, that sometimes it was a little excessive and frustrating. But men don't get to have those conversations anymore, right? And Sherry and I were talking about one of the reasons. Well, back to, I was listening to Jordan Peterson and this. I'll put a link in the description. Jordan Peterson and this super nerd that was studying statistics on human behavior. One of the things they came up with was about how men, and of course gay women, respond to youth cues in women. So when a woman looks younger, healthier, symmetrical, those things are what's attractive to a man. And of course, for good reason. We have 1 million sperms and we want to find homes for all of them. And so Jordan Peterson didn't get into it, of course, because it's very radioactive, that subject. And I'm not going to get into it. I want him to come out with that news for you guys. So, but one of the things that it's always a threat to women is being replaced by a younger, newer model. And there's also many other cues that men find in alternative spouses, like a younger woman is dumber. She can be fooled easier, tricked, trapped into doing things that a more experienced woman would not put up with, and things like that. So there's a lot of that. So, like, again, this is all natural behavior, and I think I'm also frustrated with the way that society treats someone like me that's very secure in my masculinity. I'm very okay with talking about jizz and manly stuff, and I'm lucky that I haven't submitted to the browbeating that a lot of women give their husbands to, get in line and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny, men don't really get to socialize that like that anymore. And when they do, typically it's in the same situation I told you about, which is like over, UTVs and on the dunes and with beer and all the other stuff. So it's just kind of a weird time to be in right now, and also to just be a man. And and then I get ousted from the men as well because I don't have a big beard, and I don't got tattoos, and I'm not manly man. What's funny is that whole beard thing actually resembles a lot of the Taliban and extremist Jewish and extremist Muslim faiths, which are very anti-woman. But there's a lot of women out there that only respect being chokeslammed. But again, for even women's health, it's okay if you want to be chokeslammed, if you have that feeling. A lot of women have rape fantasies, which is very difficult to cater to as far as a man goes, and especially the way that women handle the advancements of men. Louis C.K. has a great bit about that. I'll put that a link in the description as well, about that there was a waitress that really was into him, and she was giving him all the signs, and finally he's like, I gotta go, and just was like, I can't do this, I gotta wake up or whatever, and he saw her the next day, and he's like, I thought you wanted to have sex, and it seemed like, and she's like, oh, I did. I just wanted you to take me. She's like, I was hoping you'd get frustrated and just take me. And he's like, yeah, that's rape. That is rape. I'm not going to rape you. So, a lot of women, and again, this goes back to Jordan Peterson, talks about how women do not realize the power that we give them, and the power of how powerful a rejection is for men. And what I saw and what I observed in society is every one of these guys, these school shooters, even the Virginia Tech guy, but he was Asian, but he was a youthful man, young man, whatever, and I think masturbation was taboo. And so that wasn't happening, and he was being rejected by women. And then he brought up the problem with staff, at the school, and was rejected by staff as well, even made fun of. That's not good for a guy that's got raging hormones and is not getting any satisfaction. And I certainly don't advocate what they did. I certainly understand, though, and have felt the same way. My eighth grade was very terrible. So for me to at the end of it, to break my leg skateboarding, and then to lose my virginity to my dad's girlfriend, that was all was forgiven. All was forgiven. And then I got in a fight with him, and I got to leave that shitty Gilbert High as a freshman and go to Mesa Carson Junior High as a ninth grader. Oh my God, pussy galore. I got to be the new kid, and I got to reinvent myself, and that was one of the most powerful things that ever, I lucked into. And so I got to redefine who I was, instead of, stinky weirdo Patrick from that these girls knew from third grade and all that stuff. So, but be nicer to men. And Chris Rock talked about it. Men need three things: food, sex, and silence. Please help us help you, right? Because after sex, men don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to road rage. They don't want to shoot up any places. They want to build shelves for you. I forget her name. She was talking about how her standards of a woman were quite low. That if she was dating a guy and he changed the garbage can liner himself and actually looked under the kitchen sink for liners, like, he's a keeper. So, but now if your man's stupid, that's your problem. If he's a big dummy, that you're both in trouble. But educate yourselves and really read books and try to not be emotional about stuff. Be as logical as possible as you can, because when you get into emotion, see, that's why you can never use logic to win an emotional argument. That's why a lot of men lose arguments. It's not because they're not right? It's not because they're wrong. It's because the woman is using emotions and he's using logic, right? Can't win, right? Because that's what terrorists use. And terrorists are children and religious extremists. They just want what they want, and they're willing to have a meltdown to get their way, and that's what they do. They throw themselves on the floor, whether they have a bomb strapped to them or not, or sometimes they're just 3 years old and they want a popsicle, and it's not appropriate. So, yeah, don't be an emotional terrorist, no matter who you are. That is just a wrong thing to do. And it's very frustrating. It's unfair to everyone around you. It's very irresponsible. And it wastes everybody's time. So be an adult, work your problems out, and just fucking try to do better. Jesus Christ. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ and Gonzo, all praise Gonzo, I will leave you with those thoughts this Sunday. Have a great week, everybody. Love you. Bye.